I've ridden 41 roller coasters across 4 different parks. Some of these are excellent, some not so much. I'm going to rank all of these from last to first. I will, of course, have a different opinion from all of you guys, so comment your thoughts down below. Before we start, I want to thank all of you, and I hope you all enjoy. At number 41 is Coco Cruiser at Hershey Park. This 14-foot tall Zamperla kiddie coaster is not meant to be particularly thrilling, but it manages to be both rough and boring. The turns are shaped like Cybertrucks, leaving you to regret getting on this 3-lap abomination with a kink in your neck. At the number 40 spot is Wild One at Six Flags America. This ride looked like it had potential coming into it, with very few places for things to go wrong. As soon as I entered the first valley, I realized that everything had gone wrong. I strained my back and I was hurting all day. This ride looked like it was going to be full of airtime and good lateral G-forces, but it was so rough that I could not enjoy any of these. Number 39 is Firebird at Six Flags America. This ride is the first B&M ever built, and it delivers the worst headbanging I've ever experienced, even through a vertical loop. This ride has a decent layout, but all you can notice is the roughness and the headbanging. This ride feels like you're being beaten by a professional boxer. At number 38 is Grover's Alpine Express at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride is a 24-foot tall Zero, and it's okay, but it doesn't really do anything that a roller coaster should do. It delivers some positives and some laterals, but it doesn't really have anything to introduce a kid to the forces that you will experience at a roller coaster, and it rides more like a flat ride. At number 37 is Raging Cajun at Six Flags America. This ride is probably fine. It's a spinning wild mouse. The ride that I got on it, I was being thrown into my restraint the entire time, and did not enjoy the experience. I'm sure it could be fun, but the forces that I experienced were not pleasant. At number 36 is Anaconda at King's Dominion. This ride opens with a very strong, enjoyable first half. After you exit the brake run, however, you're greeted by the one thing that Arrow doesn't know how to do: transitions. These turns are one of the most unenjoyable parts of any roller coaster on the planet. They give so much headbanging, and there's no fun in the idea of the turns, so there's really no redeeming quality to this second half. At number 35 is Skywinder at Six Flags America. This is Vekoma SLC, and it's apparently one of the better SLCs. I think that this layout is a very good one, but the rattle and roughness of this ride takes away from the experience. I know that they've just redone this, but I believe that they need to do more to fix this ride so that people can enjoy the layout. At the number 34 spot is Backlot Stunt Coaster at King's Dominion. This is a very interesting ride. I really like the theming. I like the idea, but everything is a bit too small. The cars are a bit too small, the seats are a bit too small, the transitions are a bit too small, and the lap bar is a bit too tight. At the number 33 spot is Reptilian at King's Dominion. I really like this ride, but the reason it was this low is because it's very rough going into the brake runs. I like the idea of bobsled coasters, and I thoroughly enjoyed this ride, but I received a bit of whiplash going into the brake runs. At the number 32 spot is Trailblazer at Hershey Park. This is a very fun mine train. It takes you around near where Stormrunner's queue is. Then it takes you into a few helices and a ravine. The only reason it's this low is because it's not very forceful, which it isn't really meant to be. This ride does very well as a family coaster, and makes Coco Cruiser obsolete. At number 31 is Tempesto at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride is an interesting one because I enjoy it in small doses, but the lines are too long, and if I ride it more than once, I start to get a bit nauseous. This ride does a lot that's good, but nothing that's great. At number 30 is Dark Coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride is fun and it's smooth, but it doesn't do as much as far as theming goes as Dark Castle, which is kind of what this ride was built to do. I'm sure if it wasn't replacing Dark Castle, I would have it higher, but as one of the biggest fans of Busch Gardens, I'm also one of the biggest critics of Busch Gardens, which you will see, and have probably seen throughout this list. At number 29 is Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America. This ride has some good forces, but it has a rattle, which is very noticeable, and the theming is not as good as other clones of this ride. At number 28 is Woodstock Express at King's Dominion. This PTC family coaster is very fun, and introduces kids to airtime and the out-of-control feeling of a wooden roller coaster very well. At number 27 is Apple's Apple at King's Dominion. This is the best wild mouse I've ridden. It starts off with a fun drop, and then goes into very powerful laterals, in those turns which are beyond the regular 90-degree turns. At number 26 is Tumbili at King's Dominion. This ride is very fun, and the 4D aspect is a very cool experience. I really like how you can get different forces in each ride, and you can get airtime when you least expect it. Number 25 is Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride is very fun, and it starts off with a pretty good drop over the river, and into the only bad transition of the ride, which isn't even that bad. Then it goes into its iconic loop, through a tunnel, into another pretty good drop, and then into the second of the iconic loops, and that's it. Nothing really complicated, just a simple, fun ride with some good airtime and some good positives. Number 24 is Comet at Hershey Park. This is a very smooth PTC classic with tons of airtime. This ride is only held back by its pacing, but its airtime and smoothness make up for that pretty well. At number 23 is Griffon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I really like this ride, but the lack of a layout after the second implement and the fact that it kills all of its pacing to do a second drop really knocks us down from a potential top 10 roller coaster. At number 22 is Roar at Six Flags America. A lot of people don't like this ride because of how rough it is, but I think that this ride is one of the smoothest in the park, which isn't saying much, but I had a ton of fun. The sense of speed is incredible, it feels completely out of control, and there's some good airtime in there too. At number 21 is Invader at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride was built to be more directed towards families than Verbolten, but it starts off with one of the best drops I've ever experienced. This drop kept me from riding roller coasters for years, because I thought all the drops were this insane. It follows this with a pretty good twister layout with a bit of airtime. Most of it doesn't hit, but the double up and the camelback are pretty good. At number 20 is Lightning Racer at Hershey Park. This ride is like Roar, but faster and more out of control. The racing aspect is very cool. I had a ton of fun on this ride, and I rode on the Thunder side. The helices and the turns were a lot of fun, and I think this is a very underrated ride. At number 19 is Super Duper Looper at Hershey Park. This ride starts off with the signature element, the Schwarzkopf loop, which is very forceful, and then it goes into a layout kind of like a mine train. This ride's very smooth and very fun. Number 18 is Grizzly at King's Dominion. This ride is a very fun combination of twister layout and some airtime. After the retracking, it's much smoother, and I thoroughly enjoyed this experience. The way it goes out through the woods is fun, and I received some good ejector airtime. Number 17 is Dominator at King's Dominion. This ride is intense and well paced. It opens with one of the strongest combinations of inversions, with that huge loop which gives you some hang time, and then a great cobra roll, which I always enjoy. Number 16 is Flight of Fear at King's Dominion. This ride starts off with one of my favorite launches, which always gets my adrenaline pumping. Then it goes into a bunch of twists and turns in the darkness. Number 15 is Batwing at Six Flags America. I really enjoy the sensation of flying and the intensity of that loop on your back. My only negative is that you're on your back for the lift hill and brakes. Number 14 is Rebel Yell, or Racer 75, at King's Dominion. This ride is the epitome of a fun wooden roller coaster. It's out of control, full of airtime, and delivers some serious laterals in that turnaround. I really do love this ride, and I hope there's more rides built like it. Number 13 is Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride features exceptional theming and great forces. The iconic drop over the river from Big Bad Wolf is an excellent closing to this ride. Number 12 is A Polished Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride starts off with an excellent drop, and then the airtime hills, with the exception of the second one, don't do that much. I really like this ride, but I can't put it any higher than this. Number 11 is Great Bear at Hershey Park. This ride gave me the quickest gray out I've ever experienced. Its first drop actually delivers some airtime, and then every element after that is taken way too fast, retaining its intensity for the entirety of the ride. Number 10 is Superman the Ride of Steel at Six Flags America. This ride features some very powerful sustained ejector airtime. It has a sense of speed that is only damaged by its lack of pacing. The two helices, while redundant, are still fun and forceful. The finale of this ride is really what bumps it up this high on my list, as you go into a series of powerful ejector airtime hills. At the number 9 spot is Stormrunner at Hershey Park. This starts off with the most powerful launch that I've experienced. Then it goes into a so-so top hat. It enters the Cobra Loop, which pulls a ton of positive Gs. After that, you enter the Flying Snake Dive, which is powerful and snappy. It's a short ride, but it does a lot in that time. Number 8 is Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride delivers the most positive G-forces of any ride that I've ridden. The Immelman starts it off strong, then the vertical loop keeps the insane pace up. The standout element is the Cobra Roll, which is more intense than any element I've experienced, including I-305's first turn. Number 7 is Candemonium at Hershey Park. This ride is full of floater airtime, especially the first hill. The turns aren't that good, but it looks incredible at the front of the park. Number 6 is Fahrenheit at Hershey Park. The vertical lift hill is cool, and the beyond vertical drop is even cooler. All of the inversions hit, and the ejector hill at the end is pretty good too. Now we've reached the top 5. These are the best of the best, in my opinion, the world-class rides. Number 5 is I-305 at King's Dominion. This ride is here because of the speed, the positive G's, and the switchbacks. The sustained ejector hills are great, but the drop is completely devoid of airtime, and the trims hit way too hard. This ride is really fun, but it's stopped by these weak links. Number 4 is Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. This ride is a really fun drop with lots of whip. Then the layout is full of airtime. The inversions are pretty whippy, and the ejector hills are always powerful. It's full of perfect airtime, even to the very end of the ride. Number 3 is Sky Rush at Hershey Park. This ride starts with the best drop I've ever experienced. The sustained ejector airtime is nearly perfect, but the repetitive layout is not strong enough to push it any higher. Number 2 is Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride does everything. It opens with a great inversion, goes into a few fun off-axis hills. The swing launch with the ejector hill in the middle is a perfect thing to fill the dead space of that swing launch, and the spike is pretty cool too. The top hat is a perfect ejector drop, followed by the most sustained ejector airtime I've ever experienced in that outer bank. The best inversion I've experienced is the stall that follows, giving a moment of hang time unparalleled by anything. The ride ends with a strong wave turn. The experience is very strong, but it is a bit short. My favorite roller coaster out of 4 parks that I've been to is Wildcats Revenge. This ride is insane in every way. The pre-lift is fun, and then the ride goes berserk. The drop is insanely powerful, followed by the gray-out inducing step-up underflip, into a moment of pure ejector airtime. The ride, after this, delivers tons of airtime and a good stall. The second half has the powerful wave turn, a double up with strong laterals, 2 corkscrews, and a bit more airtime. This ride is absolutely insane in every way, even with a slightly less intense second half. It is the most intense ride as far as airtime goes, and has great positives and laterals. This ride truly does everything right. That wraps up my list of all 41 roller coasters I've ridden. I hope you enjoyed this. I've done a few videos in No Limits 2 Roller Coaster Designing Simulator. Make sure to check those out. Have a good one, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.